I think one of the coolest types of films out there are prequels. There's just something about a film that tells you the story of how another film happened that really gets me excited. Getting to see older characters in younger form, getting to see how certain character traits or plot elements became the way they are, getting to watch it and think, oh shit, they have no idea what they were in for in the future. Sometimes they're done really well, other times not so much. So where does X-Men First Class fit into this spectrum? I would say it's pretty good. It's a well-thought-out origin film on 3 well-known X-Men characters. Characters we always kinda wanted to see more of after watching them in 3 movies. Those characters being Magneto, Mystique, and everyone's favorite guru, Professor X. This film was a box office success and virtually all the critics liked it. If you saw my review on X-Men Origins Wolverine, you know that they were planning on making separate origin films for several characters, but ended up making one prequel that walks us through some of them. Was it all for the best, or should they have passed on after that mutation of a Wolverine movie? Let's find out. This is X-Men First Class. So the film opens up with a shot-for-shot remake of the opening from the first film in 2000. Only this time, we see what happens after Magneto gets knocked out. A Nazi scientist/energy-absorbing mutant by the name of Sebastian Shaw, played by Kevin Bacon, tells Eric all about mutation and says that if he doesn't use his powers to move a coin, Shaw will kill his mother. No surprise, Eric is too scared to move it and ends up pulling a Peter Parker on his mom. Outraged by this, Eric uses rage to activate his powers and ends up destroying the entirety of the kitchen that has no business being next to an office, as well as crushing the skulls of 2 Nazi guards. Which, don't get me wrong, was honestly one of the cooler things Magneto has done with his powers in these movies. While this is going on, a young Charles Xavier meets a young Mystique who looks unbelievably scary. Like horrifically scary. Like if the possessed girl from Orphan was a surrogate mother to Smurfette in the MTV Claude Scary. They meet after she tries to steal fruit from his house, to which they become best friends and actually grow into young adults together. Fast forward to 18 years, Charles, played by James McAvoy, is about to graduate from Oxford College, while Mystique, played by Jennifer Lawrence, has become his foster sister. During this, Eric, now played by Michael Fassbender, is on a manhunt to find Shaw and murder him for revenge. Why he waited almost 2 decades to do that, I don't know. I would have just used my magnetic powers to bash his brains in with a metal pan, but I mean, to each his own. In said 18 years, Shaw has rallied up his own collection of mutant lackeys to do his bidding for him, and has plans to interfere with the fragile Cuban and Russian vendettas that existed between them and the US in the 60s. In enters Moira McTaggart, played by Rose Byrne, a CIA agent who goes to Charles for answers on mutation after witnessing Shaw and his team. Charles ends up helping Moira and the CIA track down Shaw's boat at the same time Magneto comes to kill him. Unfortunately, Shaw gets away, leaving Eric and Charles with no leads. After getting settled into the CIA facility they'll be staying at and meeting a young, hairless beast played by Nicholas Hoult, they decide to recruit other mutants to put together a team to take on Shaw. During this montage of mutant collecting, we get a pointless Wolverine cameo. Though, to be fair, it's one of his better ones.
Go fuck yourself.
Charming as always, and the studio had to pay him a lot of money for that 10 seconds. Anyway, the CIA learned that Shaw is going to meet with the Soviet general of Russia, so Charles and Eric come to intercept him. Only Shaw didn't show up. His second-in-command, Emma Frost, played by January Jones, meets with the general instead. During a scene that gets cringy real fast as well as stressful, Charles reads her mind and learns that Shaw's plan is to create World War III in an attempt to make mutants stronger with a nuclear blast. And, kill all humans. Because every bad guy in comic movies are super one-dimensional like that and just want to kill all humans. Kind of a requirement in the Superhero Films for Dummies book. Shaw breaks into the CIA facility, kills one of the mutant recruits, gets another one to go with him, and that's when Eric and Charles decide to train themselves as well as the others for battle. Which, in itself, is a really, really cool couple of scenes to watch because we see Professor X doing what he's always done. Teach. He's the go-to man, always has the answers and logic to give to everyone on how to solve their problems. He's the walking fountain of knowledge. No pun intended. It's also cool to see Charles and Eric bonding so much as friends. They look like actual partners and they complement each other so well despite being polar opposites. Eric is a morbid pessimist, Charles is a kind-hearted humanist. It almost makes it unbelievable to think they're enemies the next time we see them. As the final battle rolls around, the gang suit up into their Bumblebee outfits and fly off to take down Shaw, during of which we do get some pretty cool action scenes. Unfortunately, this movie seems to be more focused on the setups of the locations and Eric's struggle with Shaw than they are utilizing what these characters can do with their enhanced abilities. It'd be like if we just had a 2-hour loop of that scene from Iron Man 2 where Tony Stark pees in his suit. Not exactly a vast amount of potential. Eric uses Shaw's head as a Coinstar machine before really deciding that humans suck, and fire tons of missiles back at the warships that fire them at the X-Men. Through a series of distractions and not-so-friendly fire, we see the gunshot that took away Charles' ability to walk. Both he and Magneto then share an extremely emotional moment about whether or not human beings are worth sparing, and then Charles lets Mystique go off with Eric to do their own thing. I think one of the reasons why this scene, as well as many others in this movie, are so crucial is because of the fact that it almost feels like it's not supposed to happen. The dynamic between Eric and Charles is so powerful, it almost feels wrong for them to be enemies. When I watch them in the original X-Men films, I have no issues with them being on opposite ends. But when I see them here, I want them to be together because they get along so well and have so much potential. Not to mention the fact that Magneto is way more human in this one. Okay, sure, he has a bit of a dark side of what his appetite for killing, but it's really only focused on one person and for a really sound reason. He's way more of an anti-hero here than he is in some of the other films where he fights alongside the X-Men. And that was X-Men First Class. Hope you guys liked this little dissection. If you did, be sure to like it, comment, and share. My next video is on the 27th and it's going to be on The Wolverine. Since that is one of my favorite in the X-Men franchise, I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. Have a good one, everybody.